we smile, them a tell we weak. But Tobago you stand strong on the sea and the peaks. We carry the way for build the nation. Yes, them treat we like we no part of the foundation. No is the time for justice, no is...
Good morning, Tobago. I hope you had a great weekend. It's Monday morning, and so it's another episode of Auto Focus. You see, there's so much to learn about the autonomy quest. Most people think it just started the other day.
Yeah.
It just started with Hochoy Charles. It just started with Orville London and the multi-party committee that he had. Or it just started with Reginald Dumas and his writings. Or probably the writings of Dr. Larry Luke or the John Prince Committee. But really and truly, it predates even Robinson's entry, Robinson and Maurice's entry into the politics. As a matter of fact, when Tobago was joined to Trinidad, from the moment we were joined to Trinidad, the quest to regain autonomy came on the horizon, and we were pretty autonomous before we were joined to Trinidad. There is a quote in your book that I want to read, right? And this seems as though you were editorializing within the prose itself, right? Which is an excellent technique to use for a historical inspired narrative. It says, from the crown colony days of sugar and slavery through the broken promises of reform in the early 20th century, Tobagonians had dreamt of autonomy, of a future where they controlled their own destiny. The union with Trinidad in 1889 had brought some advances, but also new forms of marginalization. Every time self-government seemed within reach, the political elite in Port of Spain found new ways to maintain their dominance over Tobago's affair. That stood out to me because it felt like we just experienced this.
We did.
And is it your feeling as well that what we experienced recently, some weeks ago, is really and truly a continuation of this pattern?
Yes, I am of the firm belief, because I mean, I don't like to get into the bills because I always have the view that the bills do not reflect our autonomy. But I read the bill and I saw where, they want to give us legislative powers. They want to give us a whole heap of things to be responsible for. But at the same time, they're taking back control over state land. Because I saw where the central government can come to Tobago, and whatever land that we deem to be state land in Tobago, they can take to do whatever they want without input from the THA, right? Also, they push the bills, but they don't speak about the other bills that limits our autonomy. For example, the Port Authority, right? We don't have control over the Port Authority. We don't, even the Esplanade, the port can take the Esplanade from us, because when we look at the cadastral that they use to delineate the boundaries that belong to the port, the Esplanade is part of it, right? So that whole stretch of Scarborough, someone in Trinidad could wake up in the morning and say, hey, you have an autonomy bill, yes, but we still have control over this. Same thing with the quarry, right? We have control over even within the 6 nautical miles, more power than the secretary and the chief secretary. So they're giving it to us, yes, but at the same time, the fine print says something else.
Let me ask you a question. Are you secessionist?
I used to be.
So you used to be secessionist, meaning that you used to believe that we should just go independent. But now you have a different point of view. It has evolved?
It has evolved because people might think, well, my wife and daughter are Trinidadians, right? They are from...
So is it that's why it evolved?
No.
You found love in the other place and you realize if you separate him, they take your family down there now.
It goes beyond that, and I even brought it out in the book. A lot of us have relatives in Trinidad. We're comfortable with going to Trinidad and enjoy certain recreational activities, even sports, the carnival. We're joined to Trinidad in many different ways, and I don't see the need to separate or to stop that kind of union. What is needed is a proper structure for us to manage our relationship with Trinidad. And that is what I want to bring out in this book. And you will see that in part 2.
What do you say to those in the Tobago space and in the political space who started opposite to you, started with a more centrist position, but the more this matter is prosecuted, the more the interaction with the central government happens, the more that person starts feeling as though we should just be separated. What do you say to the person who is having a reverse experience to the one you just described for yourself?
Well, I will say that they are being defeated. You're defeating yourself, because the being joined to Trinidad in that kind of way, it will diminish the opportunities or the ability of Tobago's potential, right? When it is we cannot delineate our boundaries properly and identify what is Trinidad and what is Tobago, right? And we continue with the narrative that Tobago doesn't contribute to this relationship, right? When we do all of that, we are defeating ourselves, because if it is we sort out this issue and we delineate Tobago and Trinidad, the amount of resources that will be afforded to Tobago, that will be afforded to 65,000 or 70,000 individuals, it will be more than what is coming now.
And I would say more than just 65 or 70, because we have a significantly large diaspora,
yes.
Which we very much count as part of us, who with a more autonomous Tobago might consider returning home, because the opportunities will be much more significant.
Yeah, but with how the system is set now, it will be very hard for them to come back home. I spoke to one of my friends in Canada, and I asked him, what would it take for you to come back home? And he started to talk about things like insurance and retirement planning and those kind of things. Things that THA doesn't have control over, right? We don't have control over pension plans and those kind of things for public servants and, well, the whole public service association. Yeah. We don't have anything to do with that. And these are the things that persons are looking at, even land management. Persons cannot even inherit land that they own properly, because we have the family land issue in Tobago, where family members did not establish boundaries. They just allocated land to different persons and said, that is yours. But can you use that in the bank? No.
So we can't even monetize,
the
assets that we have properly.
No.
Because of the absence of autonomy. And other Caribbean islands have resolved that issue by simply going to Parliament and,
we can
presenting legislation there. And we just don't have the authority to do so.
Yeah, the major land management issue in Trinidad is squatting. I saw recently that they say that the squatting has tripled or something like that. Every year, 500 squatters are added to the squatting database. Tobago doesn't have a squatting problem per se. We have a family land problem.
A title problem.
Titling. And we don't have the authority to solve that problem. And that is one of the barriers that to attracting persons from the diaspora back home. Even the Foreign Investments Act, where central government bring an act to say foreigners cannot invest in Tobago.
But more than that, a single minister decides whether or not a foreigner could invest in Tobago.
Right.
As opposed to the whole Tobago House of Assembly. A single minister, in his purview, his judgment, a minister who may or may not even have any affinity to Tobago, understand the cultural nuances, or understand the geography and the attending issues, has an authority. So whoever is the Minister of Finance has the final say. Even
I was making the point in another place that my wife and daughter, who are Trinidadians, have more ranks in Tobago than me, because they could go to their representative in the Parliament and say, well, okay, they don't like something in Tobago, and their representative with their majority caucus can drastically change or divert the trajectory in Tobago from Trinidad.
39 of them against 2 of us.
2 of us. And
and sometimes, like now, the 2, even if it's of us or just from us.
Well, they just go with the wind. But and that is why the person who is saying, hey, maintain the status quo between Trinidad and Tobago, that is being self-defeating. It's anti-productive, you know.
I have one more question for you. The protagonist in the prose is a woman.
Yes.
Tobago has never had a woman leader. certainly not at the head of the THA. We have had women leaders. At the parliament, the closest we have come to a woman really advocating for autonomy would be Pamela Nicholson, who played a critical role in Act 40 of 1996. So she was the MP for Tobago West, and so she ably supported Anna Robinson at that time in getting the parliament to agree to upgrade what we had from Act 37 of 1980 to Act 40 of 1996. And so you chose a woman as a protagonist, which I love. I have a daughter, and every time I look at my daughter, I am thinking about what role she will have to play to continue the fight that her father just may not win. That's just the reality, right? My parents didn't win the fight. My grandparents didn't win the fight. And great grandparents didn't win the fight. And at the rate things are going, there is a possibility that we have to depend on the next generation.
Yep.
And for me, my next generation is a girl. What inspired you to choose a woman as a protagonist as opposed to a stereotypical man political leader within the space that is really raising hell, discovering or uncovering a sinister plot against Tobago to keep us chained in a way that benefits the elites, especially the business elites out of Trinidad, Port of Spain, West Trinidad, and being able to now inspire her island to take up that fight for preservation. In other words, inspire the island to stand in defense of Tobago.
Right. Well, just like you, my future is a female as well. I have one daughter, right? That's one of the reasons. When I look at how my daughter interacted with me and her friends during the election campaign, the last election campaign, the 6-6, that spurred the idea. But more than that, Tobago has always been referred to as a woman. The poultry having it. She gets beautiful every time, right? So those were the reasons why I chose a woman. Also, it's different, and it's kind of men tend to gravitate towards women, and women. I don't want to say they're gentle or anything like that, but women attract a certain aura, a certain vigor, a certain assertiveness. And no disrespect to the men out there.
Oh, no.
Right? But
I'm happy you chose a woman.
Yeah, because the thing is, this fight is about everyone. When you think about fighting for autonomy, it shouldn't be a man in an armor going down Trinidad with a sword. It should be the person in school, the person who is at work at the desk, because we feel it the most. The person who is on the road, who has to clean the road, the garbage man, everyone needs to be a part of this fight. So I try to put it forward in a way that everyone can relate to the leadership that is needed to progress this fight.
How long did it take you to write this? Because you're talking about inspiration since early 2021.
Yeah.
So how long it took you to write it?
I conceptualized the idea around that time during the 6-6 election, right? Even I got inspiration from some of the female members of the political space that at that time. So it started then, and recently with AI and all of that, I was able to fast track the writing process, right, and improve some of the things that I wanted to put across. So it basically started that time, and this year is when I put in most of the work. No, sorry, last year is when I put in most of the work. I engaged an editor to fine tune, because AI wouldn't give you the real human feel. Yeah. So I still had to go to an editor and have her give me input, and then I went back to the drawing board, and then afterwards I had to sort out the graphics, because as growing up, I couldn't read a book without pictures. So I needed to put some photos in it, right?
Yeah.
So about 3 years, 3-4 years.
Yeah, and I see some beautiful photos in it. Photos of people that look like Tobagonians.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is such a thing as a Tobago face, as some people would like to believe, but certainly it very much reflects who we are, our culture. That sometimes we think might be humble, but uniquely powerful. I think.
Yeah.
When you look at the Belmana rights, it was one of the leaders was a woman, in that battle who really and truly helped to rile the
Tobago men protect the women.
And Tobago men protect the women. And I like that you said that in Tobago we refer to our island as a woman.
Yeah.
Paul Creole, she becomes more beautiful. Even when we look at that logo, that emblem we use for the heritage of that pregnant woman, a sign of how much potential just waiting to be birthed. A woman might really be an appropriate symbol for this struggle, for the island, and even for this narrative that you are telling. Before we end the interview, tell Tobagoans where we can get copies of the book, how it's available, and so can they walk into a bookshop and get it? Can we buy it on Amazon? Should we call you? What's the number? That kind of thing.
Okay, so for now you can get the book on Amazon, or you can contact me directly. 463-0073, right? My Facebook page is there as well, Kino Sami, or you can look for Narratives by Kino, which is my registered business that I use to push my my music and books.
So, Tobago, this has been our first episode in the podcast series where we are bringing in the voices of others. And today we heard from Kino Sami, who recently completed the novel The Unfinished Republic. A powerful book. I recommended reading for our youngsters especially. Yeah. I love that as a prose, it makes it easy for teenagers to get and young adults to get in the conversation.
It's important.
Those who may not want to read the heavy academic material, this provides historical accuracy, and it provides it in a format that makes it easy to read.
Yep.
I want to congratulate you as a young Tobagoan. How old are you, Kino?
39 years young.
39 years young? No worry. We share the same age and I still feel young. So congratulations again.
Thanks again.
This was yet another episode of Auto Focus. The next time you will hear from me will be on Friday when we have another episode of Auto Correct, where we interview another young Tobagonian. So join me then. But in the meanwhile, let's have a very productive week ahead. God bless you.